here we see different kinds of sounds. Our basic ones are destructive ones and melodious ones, as well as speech. And here we have a character that you might recognize from the website. He doesn't have an actual name, but we're calling him Biker Mike. So anyways, if we put the sound up a little, we will hear him sound bicycling. This sound we can record with our sound device. And to the left of the screen, we see the sound device and we see the containers for the sounds. Since this is only a prototype today, they're not color coded. They will be color coded so you can see is it a destructive sound, a melodious sound, and so forth. And a lot of the objects in the world will be interactable, like the string, for example. Biker Mike's actually running the City Hall clock, so if you want the time to go faster, you pull the string, it goes the bicycle away. But in this case, we use it to get a more intense sound, more bang, so that is stronger than we can use when we battle enemies. And the enemies are the scouts. So here is a camera scout. As you could see in the intro, the photographs, the guy cutting the photographs. The photographs have a very special meaning in this game, and in this case, it means we cannot let this camera scout get away. So now we use the sound that we have recorded from the bicycle guy, and we play it back and tune it. Björn will control the tuning with the hand control in order to extract the soul from within the scout. What you often have to do is find a lot of sound and fill your containers with so you can effectively battle these enemies. And as this soul is trying to get loose, Björn will have to follow it with a hand control in order to tear it loose from the scout. Scouts have some special features themselves. Once a soul, in this case, is extracted from the scout goes lifeless, rather low energy, and the soul itself has the possibility to heal you. That's how you get your health back. You don't have to always battle scouts in order to get a soul. Souls are found all over in the world, lost souls. So here we get the first view of City of Metronome, an area called Main Street. The game will be built up around the central hub. We don't have different levels, we have different areas. You have to travel back and forth through different areas in order to solve different problems and different assignments. And here we have the first sound-based gameplay, first problem solving. We see the typical gatekeeper about to fall asleep. And as he's about to fall asleep, he's landing on the big button and almost opens the gate. So, pretty much like some other special adventure games, like Grim Fandango, for example, or other kind of games like that, you don't always have a logical problem solving. Sometimes it's really illogical, but usually you do understand what you have to do, but not how you do it. So, we have a guy who's about to fall asleep, and we're working with sounds here. So, we should try to find a sound to make him fall asleep. And just like those games I mentioned before, it's not always logical, but we do have a door that says, be quiet, don't knock. Of course we got to knock. In this special case, what that leads to is, unfortunately, I'll have to apologize beforehand. Well, it's really hard to show off a sound-based game in this environment. But what we had here was a guy on the other side trying to fall asleep, and all these people knocking, but he's trying to soothe himself with some lullaby music. So we record the lullaby music, and we go back to the problem-solving part of the gatekeeper. There's a problem to solve. The reason the sound you hear sounds kind of muffled is because, then again, Björn has to tune the sound, and that's why it sounds really weird. This could also be used in problem solving, for example, when you record, let's say, the sound of a small dog, barking of a small dog. Use that later on to scare off a guard Björn said, often put doing the boring chores that none else wants to do. But since they have no soul, they don't have much mind. They don't have control of them, so they are programmed for a task. We will now show how we can use them to solve problems. Here we have a basic problem. We have a container that is blocking our way out, and we have cord connected to a wheel. Of course, we should try to turn this wheel. However, since Tim, our main character, is weak here and can't do it himself, we should try to get him some help. And this is when the metronome comes in. Destructive sounds, as I said, was used to battle enemies. However, to gain control over metronome, we need music, we need melodious sounds. For example, like in this case, some nice jazz music. Like that. So, now we play back the music for the metronome. And he's got control of the metronome.
What you can do with the metronomes afterwards, because you can use the metronomes in very many ways when the problem solving. You can get to places where you can get otherwise. You can get them to take the blame. You can annoy some guy with a metronome. He shouts at the metronome. You record the sound in the shout. You can use them in all kinds of ways. So right now the prototype is not much to do with the metronome, but we can use him together with it.
Okay. So what Björn did here was controlling Tim with one of the analog controllers and the metronome with another, and in order to get him in position. But once his task is complete, he will remain idle since we have remote his programming. Okay, here again we have some heavy machinery, very good for getting destructive sound. Pretty much like the binder we saw before, we have here the possibility to put this machine in overload, or overdrive, sorry. Just making it wrong way. And then we get a more destructive sound, very good to use to battle enemies. And we're going to show you now another battle. And here we have the phone house, by the way, our main goal for this special assignment. But here, the police scout. A little tougher enemy than the camera scout. We will have to move away since this guy can actually defend himself. And at the same time, battle him with our recorded sound. Fortunately, at this stage, we have a little more powerful sound from their machine. The bicycle sound wouldn't be quite enough in this case, but these guys are tough. They can take quite a lot. So let's see if we can take them one try, or we'll have to go to get some more sound. As you can see with the sound container, once you use the sound, it's gone. You'll have to go and find other sounds from another machine or from the original source. Okay, so now we've shown you a little about metronome. Here we see the healing part again.
Aaron just wants to show you all very cool
Yeah. Favorite, personal favorite. The smoking octopus is strong.
never mind.
Okay.